Wherever there was a stream, the red weed clung and grew with frightening voraciousness, its claw-like fronds choking the movement of the waters. Then it began to creep, like a slimy, red animal across the land, covering field and ditch and tree and hedgerow with living scarlet feelers. Crawling. Crawling. Okay, first thing we're going to look at is a series of broadleaf plants that is squunched down in this little area here. The pointer is pointing at a bunch of stalks, which are, of course, a necessary part of the plant, and then up above you'll see a series of flat objects, which are clearly the leaves. And we have to bear in mind that these flat objects are probably a couple of feet above the ground. And they're at the end of the stalks that the pointer is pointing to. So there is no chance that this is anything but a plant. This is the point. But why doesn't the public get on these SOBs that are trying to hide the truth? This is what I want to know. This is a broadleaf plant. That's a real easy identification to make. Those objects are at different levels. They're not lying on the ground or anything. They're at the end of stalks. So there is nothing to discuss further. I don't know what type of plant. Obviously it's on Mars. Doesn't have a Latin name or anything. Next we're going to take a look at the leaves. Here are the leaves that I was talking about. Not all of them are all that distinct, but they're way up above the ground level, sitting on stalks. So there really isn't anything to discuss about them other than it's a very unusual plant. I mean, we see this type of thing in earth plants all the time. Leaves that grow on long stalks. Perhaps they're an adaptation to getting more sunlight. We won't know until NASA fesses up and until you, the public, get on them and demand the truth. This is a plant on Mars. End of subject. This hangs over that little ridge there that's to the left. The other plants are much higher than. Probably a plant, vine-like plant, that's what I'm thinking. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with it, but it's definitely not a rock. It's too indistinct, and it's that light color associated with plants. So probably a plant there. Again, the pointer points another probable plant hanging down, this time from the roof of the building. You can see little stalks sticking up from the roof if you look really closely. This is a very old building. I'm going to go over it in more detail in part 2. Interesting formation. I believe it's used for storage. This is the other part of that plant that appears to be hanging down from the roof. If you look just to the upper right of the pointer, you can see a fuzzy area sticking up above the roof. That's an indication probably of a Martian grass that's growing on this object. This object has been there for a long time. And there are other indications as well. If you scour the roof, you can find them. Little fuzzy patches sticking up that can't be explained by anything but vegetation. So that's an identification there, and we're going to move along. Something bigger and better. As I mentioned, there's hundreds of plants. And we're going to look at them. That appears to be a rock with a vine-like plant growing over it. I was really impressed by that. The only problem is it's too far away to tell a lot about it. This is more in line with the red weed presentation that I did at the start of this video. Looks like one of those things that would crawl and creep along the ground. And nothing so dramatic as in Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds or anything, but still an interesting vine-like plant. In this back field, the pointer is pointing to an area that just literally has hundreds and thousands of small plants. If you look really closely, you can see them. They're sticking up out of the ground. It's slightly bent as the way a plant would be. This is a field full of ground cover, essentially. I'm going to show a series of pictures on this. It's really fascinating to see ground cover on the plant marginal, isn't it? I think it is. Just above the pointer is a slightly darker area, which I believe may contain a bush. I'm still studying this, but it extends not only above that little plateau, but well beyond it and up above it. I think there's a bush there. Okay, we're going to finish up near where we started. Looking at the tip of the pointer, it's pointing towards a little plant that's in this, right at the tip of the pointer, sticking up. No rock could have possibly formed like that. So, that's a small plant, once again. I don't know the variety or anything. Until they actually start naming these, we won't. And right behind the pointer, we see a fuzzy area. A very fuzzy area. Where it almost looks like a smudge. Well, that's not a smudge. What you're looking at is typical in earth photos of where you see a stand of grasses. Where you don't have a very sharp and clean photograph. Because it gets down to a point where the camera simply can't record individual blades of grass. That's what you're looking at. It's a stand of grasses. And it's on Mars. Now, a sharp-eyed viewer will have noticed at the base of the stalks when I first showed, there's another object. In fact, there's a series of objects, but this particular one comes down to a point and goes into the ground. We're going to discuss this in the red weed part 2, because it is yet another plant. Clearly and unequivocally, it is a plant. I will never back down on that. No rock could have possibly formed like that. Until next time, I'm Artifacts of Mars. Thank you.